Welcome back, WNST, Taos, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are taking a Maryland Crab Cake tour on the road. I think we have a respite next week. I'm doing a little bit of travel internationally. I hope I pass my COVID test. Hard things ahead. I'm drinking some Royal Farms coffee out of the Cole roofing mug. A little Kona blend in here right now. And it has been a while, trying to capture this guy is like hugging a cloud. Bill Cole from Cole Roofing joins us now from out of town, but sometimes he's in town and doing roofs. By the way, I got personal. You got to take care of my roof, dude. I mean, we got to talk about this. How are you? How's life? How's summer?
I'm good. I definitely feel like barely keeping my head above water right now. Like it just seems like the world, complications, challenges, being open, everybody's crazy. It's almost summertime. Like it's definitely hard to keep up these days.
Well, I kind of have the same issue with the election coming up in a couple of weeks. We're sitting and talking to folks. We have Ivan Bates on this week down at Luna Del C as part of our Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by the Maryland Lottery. By the way, Window Nation, big thanks. Lots of new swag, lots of comfy swag. It's a little big for me, Eric. I mean, come on now. I'm not XL now. Come on, fix me up. But Window Nation, as well as our friends at Goodwill. So summertime and sports and cookouts, and I have a grill now. The Orioles have become like somewhat relevant in a conversational way because they're bringing players up. They don't stink the way they did. But this Lamar Jackson thing that began last week, and our friendship begins through baseball and football and all. Does any of this reach you at this point, or are you sailed a little bit on the sports side of things to say, wake me September 11th and they kick off against the Jets? Because I definitely sense a little bit of that from football, from non-baseball people, lacrosse people with Maryland. But the football thing, the Lamar thing last week, all of a sudden, it's football season again. Everybody wants to talk about Lamar Jackson and his contract, and everybody has an opinion.
Would it be telling if I said, remind me what the Lamar Jackson
he didn't show up in OTAs, Is that when your guys don't show up for optional work, what happens at Cole Roofing? I wonder.
We don't really have optional. Yeah, we don't really have optional work.
But nobody makes $22 million a year, including you, and I know you do well.
So I think for the diehard Oriole fans, there's at least they have this concept of, hey, maybe the rebuilding, right? Like maybe the young guys, like maybe we got something going.
They don't completely stink this year, even though they got beat badly on Tuesday night and infielders pitched and like that. That has not been right. That we haven't had a whole lot of that. So I think they're starting to bound around relevancy. And when I look down at players, I say a couple of these guys might be here 2-3 years from now, and they might be okay. Mountcastle, Austin Hayes, Mullins, these guys are okay. And then they have the Rutschman thing happening. So I'm trying to be Baltimore positive about the Orioles, even though I know who manages it. You know what I mean? And I know they had like 3,500 people there Tuesday night. Like nobody's going. And that's a downtown issue when kids get shot in front of Harbor Place, in front of where I live.
Yeah, I don't think what's happening now is the attendance revival that you're looking for. Like it's something for the diehards to latch onto, to have hope, to talk about. You can't talk to the general public because they have no idea who you're talking about. It's not Cal Ripken or Joe Orsulak. Like they don't know who those people are.
But they've done this Rutschman thing like he is going to be Mickey Mantle. You know what I mean? Like, and that's what they're supposed to do. When you stink and you win 40 games a year, and this is the way it is, you wait for hope. He represents hope, but I mean, it's baseball. It's not about one guy. We all know that. It's not a basketball team.
That, and then I think on the Ravens front, no matter whether you love Lamar or you are worried about Lamar, no matter what the situation or how you believe in it, nobody can deny that it's a tough call, right? That like doing his contract is a legitimately difficult thing. Like
he's one of one.
Yeah, he's so special. But everybody knows he's going to get hurt, so it's like, what's the right move for the team? So
everybody knows he's going to get hurt. I'm going to write that down. Everybody knows he's going to get. That's what I said the day they drafted him, right?
Sure.
So last year he's 8-3. He gets hurt. The whole season goes sideways. Well, we sort of knew that was going to happen, right? That eventually, because of his style of play, but they try to talk themselves out of that. And there's also this part where right now where you'd be like, you and I are old guys. We'd say, he's going to get slower. And then somebody else would say, well, he's going to get smarter. He's going to be a better quarterback. He's going to be a better passer, right?
Right.
And I would say, I haven't seen a lot of guys get better as passers at 26. I have seen a lot of guys get slower. I've seen a lot of guys get smarter, but they've already thrown the ball well. I mean, we're hearing praise for Matt Ryan in Indianapolis. He throws the ball. So, well, of course he does. He's 39 years old, and he's thrown 10 billion passes, and he threw a perfect pass when he was 21. He's still throwing Joe Flacco throws a perfect ball, however old he is at this point, pushing 40. But there's something about Lamar that we have not seen that style of offense. So, therefore, it is one of one. And you have to say, what is the value here? And what's the value of him holding out of OTAs? Can you explain that, parental Bill Cole, that if your lab was making $22 million a year and you knew that it would really anger the coaches, really anger the staff, that they now have a disgruntled to some degree quarterback in that he's not even showing up for optional. He's now a star. He's a star, and he comes when he wants to come, and optional means optional, and listen to the union. And this is a bizarre thing because I think people are starting to wonder, does he really want to be here? Because you said about contract, they can offer him all they want. If he doesn't come to the table and take $100 million, $120 million of guaranteed money, which I'm sure they would offer him, or in that range for 3 years, 4 years, whatever that deal would be, and he doesn't have an agent. So this is I've been doing this my whole life. I've been doing this 27 years. I've never seen a negotiation like this. It usually at least involves somebody Eric DeCosta can pick up the phone and call and talk to and negotiate with. This is not the case in this. And that makes this very volatile.
I have no idea on the actual factual nature of what I'm about to say, but like, you don't ever hear the stories about the quarterback who sat out, didn't come to practice, didn't really come on Tuesdays because he didn't need to, didn't do extra film work, but we won the Super Bowl. Like that isn't the way the story goes. The story is always the quarterback and the receiver, went to Florida in March.
Well, they did do that. They
spent a month together. Well, that's true, right? And then, worked real hard, got in, got early, showed up, was the first guy there every day, did the extra film set. Like, that's the story that you always hear. So
I got flipping on Friday out on Twitter with him because he was mouthing off to Chris Sims, failed quarterback media guy, right, about whether he should be there or not in the middle of practice. And I thought to myself, all your teammates come off the field, they all follow you.
Sure.
Now you've been out there sweating on an optional day, coach chewing on your ass. You're trying to win the Super Bowl for him.
Right.
And he's in Florida tweeting about for the fourth day of practice about Chris Sims or about Nestor or about whatever. How about you just go to work? Like 85% of the rest of the team. And how about you go in there and meet with them and tell them what your deal is, which is, I'm playing out the year, and at the end of the year, we'll talk about it, and you can decide whether to franchise me, but I'm going to go win you Super Bowl this year, and I'm here today. Now, if I hear that, all right, Joe Flacco said that. I have no issue with that. Joe Flacco put his feet up on Steve Bisciotti's desk and said, I'll get more later. I will make more money later. Lamar's on a 6-game losing streak, injured. The team didn't make the playoffs. They've got all sorts of different players around. They got rid of his best bunkie, which apparently, he still apparently has an issue with that, even though they brought him in and told him what was going on. And now people in the building are wondering about not his level of commitment to winning a Super Bowl. They know he wants to win a Super Bowl this year, to your point, but the things you do to win a Super Bowl and the fact that he hasn't met his center yet that they drafted for him, right? That they have surrounded him in a way that other franchises wouldn't. Like, you have good roofing guys at Cole Roofing, Bill Cole. You have good employees all of these people, but they're not one of one and perceive themselves to be one of one. And to think that, well, the rest of the team can practice, but it's optional for me because the union said it was optional. Even though my coach wants me there, all my coaches want me there, my teammates need me there, and I'm about winning a Super Bowl, and this is what you do to win a Super Bowl. this was just a very, very bizarre week. And I think even the people in Owings Mills are confused because this doesn't feel like the whippersnapper Lamar that they got 4 years ago,
Right.
who's first guy in the building, last guy out, friends
Right.
with everybody, wants to be here, wants to be here, wants to be a part of it, wants to win a Super Bowl. When 85% of the building's out there in the heat doing that, and he's on Twitter bitching at Chris Sims, it speaks to me of maturity issues. And that's what I've talked about. I've talked about what's in this kid's head if that's where he is. If that's where he is in a $22 million year, trying to get $250 million, if you're trying to get $250 million from your employer, you probably go to work, I would think, or whatever the perception of work would be.
I would think that at such a pivotal time, wouldn't you want to be in the room and be part of the
That's
solution?
how you're going to get the money. The way you're going
Right,
to get
right,
the money is to go win the championship. Whatever
right.
needs to get done to win the championship. That's what Joe Flacco did, right? He's
Don't,
negotiating. He's going to cost himself $20 million if they get bounced in the playoffs. Well, let's not get bounced in the playoffs then.
right. Guys, don't call that play on 2nd and long. It doesn't work for me. I really like this play. Oh, but Lamar, everybody knows that. Okay, fine. How can we build variations off that? You know what I mean? Wouldn't you want to be part of the solution where you're bringing $250 million worth of value to the table? I'm not just going to win on the field. I'll come in with you Monday and look, you guys don't think I'm fast enough to run around that corner on that play. I can run around that corner on that play. Let's do that. That's all about rolling out the next new thing in the
Well,
NFL.
you know what? But 4 years into this, he still makes these references to I was a running back, all that disrespect stuff. Just go play. Yeah. Go play. We love to watch you play. You're a great player. Get healthy and go play, and we'll cheer for you. And we'll be delighted when Steve Bisciotti gives you $231 million. But when you're not showing up at OTAs, it creates something in the minds of the fans, which isn't good. Division of fans never good. But management, I'm a manager of people. You're a manager of people. We have written checks. We have written payrolls. We have given raises. We have fired people. We have done all of that. And in my mind, as that human being, as Uncle Nestor at 53, when you show me you're not all in, I've said this all week. We all went on a date with a girl that we liked for a while. And then one night we were out with her and she looked at us like we weren't the guy anymore. And you know how we know we weren't the guy? We married somebody else later on in life. But on that night, when she looks at you like you're not the guy, you never forget that. It rarely gets resolved. Right. And I would say this week when Lamar's sniffing around and I'm mad about Hollywood and what do you, they're optional. What do you, it's voluntary. What do you, that doesn't sound like the Lamar they drafted, moved into the first round to get, mortgaged the entire thing, built the entire team around him. Every single decision they've made since they've drafted that kid has been about him running the football, protecting him, getting a defense that gets him the ball back, having a kicker and now a punter. They just fired their 20-year punter to hire the next one so they could get him field position and do all of that. This is all about, we built an entire team around this kid, and now this kid didn't show up at practice this week. And and he wants more money than anybody in the history of the game has ever gotten. So I'm just going to, that's the court case, Bill. And that's not where he was last week. Last week he was, oh, well, Lamar wants money. I hope he give him to him, and Lamar's done everything they've asked, and Lamar's a good guy, and Lamar's a team guy, and Lamar loves Baltimore. Yeah, okay. None of these guys love Baltimore. That's the dirty, the Aubrey Huff syndrome 15 years ago, which brings us to Baltimore Positive. Not enough of these guys are here and living here and settling here and being here and foundationally a part of here. And Adley Rutschman's not going to, when there's a contribution to the community, that's a different thing than I'm going to play baseball for 4 years like Manny Machado and go make their money somewhere else. Sports used to be about more than that for us. And I guess to a 24-year-old version of Lamar Jackson, maybe it's not. Pompano Beach is home. That's it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think the scale of the money changed things, right? You had to live here to play here, and you weren't getting paid enough to have 4 houses, but I don't know.
I don't lament any of that. I mean, that's not an
No,
old guy
no,
get off my
right.
lawn thing for me. I don't mind these guys making plenty of money out there. Better they make
Sure.
it than Bisciotti. You know, I mean, Bisciotti's making $100 million a year, literally on value of the club. A hundred
Right.
million. At one time, he sat in front of us and I take $1 million a year in salary. I'm not a penny more. And then I look up and I'm like, well, you bought it for 575 and it's worth 4 billion, and you've owned it 20 years. Starts to sound like 100 million a year in profit. It's what it starts to sound like to
Right.
me. And a
Well,
tax
it's
credit,
not,
tax shelter.
yeah, it's not liquid. So it's,
Well, I mean,
it's
if we're
all
going to
in the,
pick sides on who we're fans of, I'm always a fan of the player getting paid. I am, but I'm
sure.
also a fan of the player showing up.
Yes. Yes. Look, the quarterback thing is weird. I mean, if you're a quarterback in the league and you're watching what's gone down in Cleveland, how does that make you feel?
What
You
made
know what
Matt
I mean?
Ryan feel like he didn't want to be in Atlanta anymore. Like literally, he just said, "I'm done with you people. You're going to bring that guy in, and I've been here. Come on, I'm out. Let me out." And Matt Ryan left with bad vibes in Atlanta after all the years of being there and all he did there, right?
And Stafford left, and that he tried to do that. I think they all kind of behaved well through that. It hurts when the kid leaves and goes and wins the freaking Super Bowl. Like, you're sitting there in Detroit, like, God damn it, what did we do? But, but I don't know, man. I think it's tough. I think and I can appreciate Lamar not wanting to have an agent and be his own man or whatever that's all about. But like, you know how often I get advice? Like, I get advice from people constantly
How many people
because I
told me
have,
how to do my show over the last 31 years?
I mean, I have no idea about
Every
things
day.
that I don't know about. You know what I mean? Like, if I, like, you don't have to be an expert at everything. So I think that's probably you always worry who's in their ears, who's talking to them, what their motives are. I worry about that kind of stuff. I worried about the influence, yeah, but I have no idea, right? Like, maybe Lamar has surrounded himself with really great, wholesome people only looking out for his best interest.
Seen Kodak Black. He is Bill Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. They do things. They make roofs. I've talked to a lot of business owners, Bill, about products and supply chains and all that stuff. Where are we for your industry right now, and for the industries around you? Because you're not just on roofs. You're on roofs that have bricks and have carpets and have plumbing and have electric and just in general, you're on new development sites. I mean, a lot of times when there's a crane up, you're involved there or in some way. How's business aside from $5.09 gas?
Um, I've been working on trying to come up with the proper analogy, and I just haven't quite got there because there's plenty to do, but there's no stuff to do it with. And
And you
it's
can't
what,
put like rubber bands and
yeah,
paper
it's like
clips on roofs like that.
wildly frustrating. And the things that are missing keep changing, and the price of everything keeps going up. So in some cycle, there's this extension. Like, it took us usually like 2 weeks to get products. Now it takes 13 months, right? So you would think that once I get through one 13-month cycle, right? Like, now we're there. But that hasn't been the case because it didn't jump to 13. It kept getting extended. And then all along the way, the price keeps going up. So you're working through contracts that were signed prior to anything happening. So those are kind of awful. You gotta, you gotta fulfill your obligations there. And then you're trying to get onto the new contracts with the new pricing, and then you're trying to source the stuff. And then there are no solar panels coming into the country anymore. And that I thought that was going to maybe be a short-term thing, and that everybody would kind of,
Well, maybe somebody in Wisconsin will put a factory together and make them, right? That would be
uh,
the idea, right?
yeah, but even if they did and all that it's just dumb. Like, I can appreciate us wanting to make stuff. I get that. Like, I'm all about making stuff. But that's not where the value is, and that's not what this country relies on. Like, we're not a manufacturing society. We haven't been. We're a service. So the three jobs of the guys in the factory keeping the machines going, like they're not even well-paid jobs. Like they're not, like that's not good stuff. What's good are the high-paid solar installer jobs that are frozen right now because China won't ship us a panel because the US Department of Commerce wants to investigate them for, avoiding tariffs by shipping their stuff to Vietnam before sending it to America. So that entire industry has basically completely come to a stop.
I've read about that a little bit, maybe 8 months ago, 9 months ago, about the Vietnam. This is the first time it's come up on the air, that somebody has brought it up, that it's affected their business. But we turn everything over. It's made in China, right? So the war going on, the first war, obviously Russia going in. I think that's affected a lot of things about how we're going to deal with the Chinese, how we're going to deal with Russia. Obviously, gas prices, the first thing, right? Like, oh, the Russians will just bomb Ukraine. They'll just go in 3 days, take over. No, they won't, and they didn't. And we were told 6 months ago, well, Russia has a lot of gas. That's kind of how they afford to build their bombs. We buy their gas. They make bombs and kill people with it. That's sort of the circle of it. And when you stop buying their gas, all of a sudden gas is $6 a gallon. And that flies to the president. That's an election thing, right? That's politically, I don't know, is he motivated, but certainly the people in red hats are going to, it's Joe Biden's gas, right? I mean, it is amazing how our country over our lifetime, going back to when your father or grandfather were pumping gas for 53 cents a gallon at the Esso back in the early 70s, right? That gas prices affect everything. I mean, the inflation to me is gas, right? I mean, when you talk about everything costs more, well, it's costing me $6 a gallon to get it from here to there, and everywhere it goes. The gas pricing thing and the war has really taken a toll on our country financially, right? I mean, we say, oh, well, it's Russia and it's Ukraine and it's Hunter Biden's laptop or other shit that Republicans came up with that week. But the war has affected everything about American gas prices everywhere. I mean, I pull up the gas stations now and it looks like California prices, right? And
Well,
I don't talk a lot about that, but it's affected your business and it's affected a gallon of milk. It's affected my friends at Wisemart. It's affecting everybody.
and I think that's what is unique to this current situation we find ourselves is like we've been through $4 or $5 gas before, right? But like that was kind of the only thing going on. Uh, we completely want to move past the pandemic and but like the ripple effects, right? Like we might stop talking about it on the news because we can't, as a country have an attention span for more than 2 weeks. So we change topics, even though, oh,
We
by the
go
way,
from
right?
Buffalo to Uvalde like this, right?
And oh, and by the way, like there's still a war happening in Ukraine. You know what I mean? Like we watch that every hour for 2 weeks, and then now that's not
Now,
on
now the
anymore. So,
Russians are taking cities, which
right.
means rapes, hostages, murders, dead people, dead animals, destroyed infrastructure. I mean, the whole thing with Russia, this has been a genocide. I mean, literally, when you look and see the destruction that bombs
Yeah.
make in the modern era, and the destruction that machine guns make and AK, whatever the hell they call them, the weapons of war, all of that. But seeing the satellite images of what modern bombs do to cities in 2022, the Ukrainian thing is they
Like
call it a tragedy or travesty. I mean, it's gross. It's
it,
unbelievable. It's destruction that I don't know that we can comprehend outside of 9/11 when you see a building go like that, but when you see cities
right.
that they're coming in and marauding, literally marauding. Um,
But it
I,
doesn't like okay, so even if you recognize that you can't really rationally wrap your head around it, right? Like it's just not even something that we can comprehend. It still says that if you live in a country that does not have a nuclear bomb, you have to move. Like you have to move because the global world does not respect the life of a country whose people don't have a nuclear bomb to lob at you. I mean, how, like, the world is literally standing around letting one country go in and
And
murder,
destroy, yeah,
right,
destroy everything.
murder all the people in this other country because they're afraid that if they go pick a fight, then we're all going to start lobbing nuclear weapons at one another. So as a country, if you don't have a nuclear weapon, you really don't have sovereignty in my mind. Right? Like, why isn't Russia going to come to you next? Like, okay, there's NATO. NATO is the owning of nuclear weapons. Okay. So, like, you either get in the club or we'll watch one country
Well, this is what we're getting in this country,
obliterate
right?
you.
If my neighbor has an AK-47 and can come down here and destroy everything I have, I better get an AK-48, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, there's part of that with guns in this country. 400 million guns in this country.
Yeah, the gun thing, I don't know, man. That's really
But
complicated
that is a
discussion.
personal
Yeah,
Russian thing, right? That is I'm not a real citizen if you can come through my door and I don't have something to kill you with, because you
right.
might have something to kill me with if you come in, right? That's the same thing as the sovereignty of these countries. And I think a lot of people, like, would I own a gun? Do I own a gun? Like, you almost have to own a gun if you live somewhere where people might come in, because the
And,
chances that they're going to enter your house and rob you without a gun is probably slight, right?
right,
Criminals are going to bring a gun when they come to criminal you, right?
right.
So
We
therefore
like
the
to
thought is,
think
I better get my own nuclear bomb, right? I better have my own, right?
we like to think that we're not still in the Middle Ages where we're taking our army of knights and we're plundering someone else's castle, but that literally is what you just
But
described to
everybody
me,
in
right?
Texas needs a gun. They go to the mall and people are wearing guns. They're like, well, I better have one. I mean, what if that guy pulls his out? I mean, it's like something out of a John Wayne movie, man.
I know. I'll tell you what scares me is like, and I think it was Paris where the guy drove the car through the crowd. Do you
No,
remember that?
that was in Nice, I believe. It was,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
France. It
but it
was
was in France. It
France.
was in the southern
Right.
part of France. Correct. Yes.
See,
At the festival you're talking about.
yeah.
And it was a truck. Why? It wasn't. It was
Yeah, like a
something terrible.
van or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. See that to me, right? Like, say what you want about guns. Evil humans have unlimited weapons to cause mass harm to
Well, I
people.
mean, somebody took a rice cooker and made it a bomb at
Right,
the Boston Marathon, right?
right, right.
Right.
So really, we're talking about, like, the kid was 18, right?
In Texas, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like mental health and like humans looking after humans and all the violence that goes on in our cities is like the lack of appreciating another human life. Like, that's the stuff that we're all failing. Like, the guns are going to be there, the cars are going to be there. We can try and control it, but that's baloney. Reality
But
is
giving 18-year-olds assault weapons is, come on, man.
yeah,
You know,
okay,
it's
I
a
get it.
whole day. Dude had 4,000 rounds.
I
I mean,
get
come
it. I
on.
get it. But so do convicted felons on the street. They find a way to buy an AK-47 and lots of ammunition, and it's all illegal.
I couldn't believe that ghost guns are actually manufactured by like a company. I didn't know that. I thought this was like
Right,
the internet bomb trick where you have to read the,
right,
find the
right.
whatever, find how to, like James Bond, find this
Yeah,
and put it with that and attach it to this and buy this from that guy and that from that guy and the powder over here and the salt over here and put it together and you have a ghost gun. No, there's like apparently like a company that makes these and has no problem. Like making
right.
guns without tracing is a
And
thing in the country that you can do apparently, and it's okay. That's hey, let's
there's
get
lots
together and
of
make
right.
guns with no with no background check, with nothing. Let's go do that in the factory, Bill. Let's make them.
But
I would
that
think I'm going to jail if I did that.
so there's lots of stupid stuff like that. I hear you, but like who's buying those guns, and what is the situation in their lives that have led them down a path to make that a profitable enterprise for someone. Like, that's where I think the effort needs to go. I'm not saying we shouldn't figure out a way to clean up the other stuff and try and do our best to not allow these situations to be easy. But at the core, we're going to have people in society who fall between the cracks,
So
who
you want to
get
see more money put into mental health or education?
absolutely. I mean, think about what we just did to people for the last two whatever plus years. Like, you're telling me that you don't think there's a ton of people out there with problems whose either marriages fell apart, their relationship with their kids fell apart, they lost their job, they got a new job, they lost their house, that, like, whatever. And now we're about to go into a recession on top of that. Like, we're already a bunch of knuckleheads, right? Fragile, barely keeping it together every day. And all these external things that are hitting people, I don't know, man. Their social media, like looking on Facebook and seeing how fictitiously fantastic their friends' lives are because they only post pictures of the wonderful stuff. And then they're like depressed because their life isn't wonderful.
Should I
Like,
post more of the lousy stuff that happens
oof,
to me?
yes, I think so.
Okay, I will.
At least keep it like 50-50, right? Like,
But then I wouldn't be
some,
Baltimore positive. Bill
oh,
Cole is
okay.
here. He is Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. He does roofs when he can. Sometimes it takes 13 months, but you can certainly call him. Nobody does it better. Give everybody like a little primer. If they have a business, they just call you and you come out and try to figure it out, right? I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
you have what they need. Maybe you don't have to wait 13
well,
months.
it's not even that. Like, the mission now is like, we need to start assessing farther out. You need to think about it farther out, right? Like, the industry in the world is not prepared to think about their roof a year from now. Most of the time it's leaking. I want to fix now, 30 days, like, done. And that just isn't how it's going. So lots of things we can do to extend the life, push it out. There's, lots of different repairs or coatings and all that kind of stuff. That's what we're spending our time on, right?
Okay.
Like, hey, we can place orders today. In the meantime, we can get you another year
Keep you
down the
dry,
road.
right? Safe and
Yeah,
dry. Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Dude, I miss you. At some point, we'll get a
Yeah.
cocktail together, come out, do the crab cake tour again. It's been a couple of weeks. I know you've been working hard. You got kids and spring and summer's coming now and all that stuff. But it's always great to visit with you. And our Accelerant partners, want to give a shout out to them as well with an Accelerant event next month, in July. I've got that circled in my calendar because I need more
Good.
networking, Bill. I was too cooped up. I need a razor. I need to shave at some point and go out and clean up and feel good about Baltimore again. How about that?
Right on.
Bill
Good to
Cole can
talk
be
with you.
found at Cole Roofing. You can find him at coleroofing.com. And usually you'll see the trucks around as well. If you see one in front of my place, it's because I need some patchwork done myself. And we'll check in with Bill again next week. We got a lot of things going on around here. The Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by the Maryland Lottery. We're letting ourselves play and getting ourselves out. We are at Luna Del C this week downtown on Pratt Street. Ivan Bates going to stop by and see us. Got some other friends. It will be it's going to be a good show. Kick off June, kick off 100-degree days, but we have lots and lots of Maryland Crab Cake Tours. Also brought to you by our friends at Goodwill Industries. We had Jonathan Baylog on a little earlier this week talking about junior achievement with Mandy Snyder. You'll hear that at Baltimore Positive, as well as our friends at Window Nation. Buy two, get two free. I'll be talking about it all month. It's windownation.com, and at some point I'll remember the phone number so I can read it out loud. He is Bill. I am Nestor. We are WNST. AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore Positive. Go Adley Rutschman.